C5 Insight is a Microsoft partner that plans, builds, and supports solutions in Dynamics 365, Teams, SharePoint, and the Power Platform. Contact us to modernize your business today.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining C5 Insight and Microsoft for today's webinar on creating custom Copilot agents. A couple of housekeeping items before we jump in. We will be hosting a Q&A at the end of today's webinar where we'll answer all of your burning questions about AI and Copilot agents. You can submit questions by clicking the Q&A icon at the top of the Teams window, which then I will ask the presenters at the end. So we'll be posting some helpful links in the Q&A area for your reference as well. We are recording today's webinar, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, C5 Insight, to get notified when that's published. And then finally, if you haven't registered for part 2 of this webinar on April 24th, we encourage you to do that. So let's jump right in. AI agents are here and transforming thousands of companies around the world. This session is designed to build your vision and skills around creating Copilot agents. This is the first of a 2-part series on creating custom Copilot agents. Today, we're going to start with a simple 2 agents that anyone in your organization can create. No development or even much of the way of technology skills required. So in a few weeks, we will be diving a bit deeper into Agent for Sales Playbook that a power user can create with Copilot Studio, and a vision for what will soon be released with a lot more advanced agents right on the horizon. So we're going to dive in. My name is Traci Winter, Senior Director of Business Consulting here at C5. I will be kicking off with a really high-level overview of Microsoft Copilots. Then Microsoft's Kody Wildfeuer, a Senior Solution Architect for Copilot and Agents, will start off by demonstrating how to create a prompt creator agent directly within Microsoft Teams. Next, Jordan Loeffler, our technology consultant here at C5 and my personal go-to for everything AI, will then show you how to build a knowledge agent in Copilot Studio for a call center team. Like I said, we will end it with a panel discussion with questions from all of you. There are a numerous number of Copilots. We found that the easiest way to categorize them is more by purpose than capability. So Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat is the free AI companion available to everyone within your organization. It grounds itself on all of the data available on the internet, plus any documents you upload. Next, we move into more of the productivity-specific Copilots, Microsoft 365 Copilot. So this is at the core of all Copilots. It's enhancing workday productivity for everyone across the full Microsoft 365 modern workplace. Think of Teams, Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, all of your apps within Microsoft 365. Then we go into more of the role-specific Copilots. So the role-based Copilots extend Microsoft 365 Copilot. So we're looking at the business applications like Dynamics 365 for sales, finance, and customer service. And then we have our organization-specific Copilot Studio and AI agents. With Copilot Studio, your organization can fully customize your Microsoft AI solutions. You can create those custom Copilots and agents that integrate into your proprietary systems and knowledge source. This you can access. You can also access the pre-built agents and Microsoft Copilots. So now that I've gone through a really high level of those different agents, let's pause for a second here to go through a really brief survey. You can use the QR code, or we will post the link in the Q&A section. I'd like to get a really high level understanding of where your organization is with AI and Copilot. So we'll just take a moment for everyone to kind of just jump in and take a really quick survey. Excellent. So it looks like we've got some people using the free as well as Microsoft 365, which is great. Let's scroll down a little bit. There we go. and some Copilot Studio. So that's fantastic. I love it. And this is very typical using those free agents, the Copilot chat, which is great. It is so incredibly useful and my day-to-day pal as I do pretty much everything throughout my processes and what I'm doing. So feel free to keep answering if you want. You've got the form, so if you want to keep submitting, you can definitely do that. But I want to be able to move on, and we will go into it. So, what is an agent? And how different is it from what we've learned to do with generative AI or normal copilots over the last 2 years? So, it is an agency. It doesn't just respond to prompts by summarizing knowledge or creating content. It can create decisions for you and execute actions for you, only if you allow it. So I really want to, highlight that, but it is you that gives it the agency in selected areas. We like to say it's powered by luck. What does that mean? Luck is an acronym that describes how well-run organizations are more people-centric. That is listening and remembering better, understanding and analyzing to make better decisions, connecting through more consistent processes, and knowing the results so there can be a more continuous improvement. Luck is how well-adjusted humans interact with each other, and it's also how well-run organizations use digital solutions to empower their humans to do this better. But how is that AI? But that is now how AI agents can help us be better humans and better business. And that's how we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to pass it off to Kody to talk about Prompt Creator Agent. Kody, I will let you take it.
Sounds good. Thank you for the introduction, Traci. Nice to meet you all. So just for a quick introduction, I'm Kody Wildfeuer. I'm focused on copilots and agents at Microsoft. So I was working with Fast Track for business applications and stuff like that before, but my passion for AI just got the hold of me. So now I'm here really understanding how businesses can utilize this technology past the initial, process of, hey, look, it does some magic stuff, to actually giving you end results and providing you value every day. So what we're going to go through today is I'm going to demo a prompt creator. And you might ask what this is. So basically when you log into Copilot, it's a blank screen. And this is a problem with all people using, computers in general. Your first draft of just watching that cursor blink, that's intimidating. So what we're going to do is we're going to make your first agent. And we're going to do this with no code. All you need is copy and paste skills. So I have a document in a video that walks through it as well that I'll share with you. But also I'll show you just in the essence of a few minutes here how easy it is to create an agent and to adjust an agent and to work with an agent, because that's going to be how we're working for the next 100 years until the next revolution happens of technology. Understanding what the agent expects you, and Traci, I'm glad you brought up the luck aspect. It's understanding what the agent, has assumptions about and what it's not getting, and iterating on that and collaborating with the agent to make it better at its job and to make it improve daily. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip over to my screen here. And like I said, this is the vaunted, blank screen that everyone hates to see. It's a nice Copilot. And what we want to do today is there are some suggestions here. But, this is more, table stakes of, just playing with it, not really understanding the full capabilities. We want you to understand how to unlock the value here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you this, what I call magic productivity agent. So, made for TV, this is already set up and ready to go. My mom could literally use this. So all you have to do is hit go, play a little Monopoly, collect $200, just click go. And then what it does is it gives you an idea of what Copilot needs from prompts to give you the best value that it has. And it explains step by step so you can see these brainstorming prompts. So AI is really important for brainstorming and understanding the capabilities that, are outside of you to help you learn as well. So for example, work activity summary. So all I did was type go to see how Copilot can help me. And work activity summary. So generate weekly status updates. So I'm going to just flip this into Copilot and we're going to see what we get for this. So just basically copy and paste. We basically got a menu off of our agent. And then now we're actually utilizing the capabilities of Copilot in a way that you would have not understood before without collaboration with this agent. So you can see that it does a nice weekly status update for me for last week. So, action required, what meetings are happening. And this is actually really useful for me because I was out getting sunburn last week. So I'm still nursing that sunburn and understanding and digging out from all of these different areas that I didn't have a chance to connect with. And this is easily, showing the measurable outcome, the action required, along with sources here. And then you can even dive in to lower details of, hey, what are the key takeaways from, this meeting? What are the key takeaways, from these conversations? So this is really I would say the yellow brick road that we want to follow here of, hey, I have a task where I fill out a weekly planner, a weekly report for my manager. And I basically want an agent to do this work for me. I understand it needs to be done. My manager needs to track this stuff, needs to understand what I'm doing, but it takes a lot of time. I would used to do this before this agent. I would do it. It would take an hour to 2 hours to parse through my emails, my messages, my appointments, understand what the value was, the nugget of information that I need to get from that. And this thing pops it out like it's nothing. So this is where we want to start to show you the 10x possibility of utilizing AI and agents to make your life better. So before this would take an hour, now I actually run this scheduled, and I'll show you how to do this as well, to run every week. So just for an example, I can show you this triggering from last week, these different summaries by this Copilot. So this is even working in the background, giving my summaries for the week, and I can just copy and paste and move on with my life. Help you guys out, join these webinars. I'm not needing to dig up stuff in my email. The Copilot is helping me out be more productive day to day. And believe me, the fatigue that this thing saves is amazing. I love it so much. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pop over and I'm going to show you how to create this. So let's start from the beginning here. And before I start, just so if you guys want to follow along, so it's kind of small, but the short link is aka.ms/magic agent. So I'll let you get that copied here. And then, just going to it. So this should give you the document and step-by-step instructions on exactly what we're going to go through. So if you fall behind for whatever reason, don't fret. You can go through this, understand the content of me demoing it, and then you can go back on your own using your own Copilot and do these same steps and get the same results that you see here.
And
so
I did include that link on your slide, Kody. So everybody will receive it with the slides.
Sweet. All right, so let's get cracking here. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Create an Agent. And this is bringing up Copilot Studio right in where you're working with Copilot, which is amazing. You don't have to flip back and forth through different applications. Obviously, if you want to get more in depth, you can. But what we're going to do today is we're going to get very straightforward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Configure. And this kind of pulls back the curtain on, it might look complicated if you don't understand it. But once this is explained to you, it becomes pretty simplistic in terms of, hey, I'm working with, this is a virtual coworker. And they need some information. They need some subjects. They need a purpose. And this is where we give them that purpose. So what I'm going to do is I'll follow along just from the document as well because it helps me. So click Configure. And then what we're going to do is we're going to paste basic instructions here. And let me show you more details here. So we're basically going to paste simple instructions. So Magic Agent creation, what we're going to do, this is my favorite part. Copy and paste. So instead of my agent, I'm going to say, sorry, it looks like it didn't copy. I'll just type it in, Magic Productivity Agent. I'm going to say, type go. Sorry, can't type today. That's the problem. All right, so if I go down here and I copy the next detail, so the next line is an agent that always outputs a list focusing on the user's needs and includes a prompt to generate brainstorm ideas. And this might seem, it's like, this is wordy and this is a lot. What this aspect is, it's supposed to get your agent out there, and then you can tweak it and grow. And I'll show you how to test it along the way. But this is just the first stab, and it's like experimenting with any other, thing that's new to you. Pick up a magazine, start understanding what's interesting to you, woodworking or professional sports or, Copilot. It's the same thing. It's understanding, these 3 steps basically of how to trigger this, and then you adjust it along the way for what you're needing here. And you can see this in real time as this is being built out. You're seeing this information be filled in with these details, and this is basically what your agent's going to look like at the end. And what this is going to do once we give it the full instructions is it's going to be ready to go, and we can test it right here. So let me do this. Copy and paste stuff is hard work. All right. So now let me paste in the instructions. And I would say this is more of a template for your understanding as well. So, it might look like gobbledygook, but, it is in pretty, there are English aspects to it. And I would say this is where liberal arts and understanding and, writing skills really come into play here. Picture you're working with a really smart 3-year-old. They're like the smartest 3-year-old in the entire world. They just need instructions and they just need to focus, and you're providing that focus. So what we're doing is we're providing examples, basic instructions. And then at the end of this, I'm just going to say, type go. And then you can see this is the full agent. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click go here. Hopefully it's saved. Let's see. Now it is thinking with those instructions. And then you can see it is starting to churn out those powerful and mind-blowing prompts. So this was, one thing that I found on the internet that for whatever reason, it really juices the AI when you try to make it show off a little bit. It goes really good brainstorming techniques. So this is even tricks of the trade from what I've understood. There's certain aspects of if you are nice to the AI, if you tell it that you're going to give it a tip, for whatever reason, the data that it's trained on, it will actually produce better results. So I always think that's a funny little aspect of this AI that kind of sets it apart from, technology in the past. And you can see how, you get these results here that just from the instruction of give me some, hit enter, says go, what are the absolute coolest, most mind-blowing prompts? And then I give it some examples, and then we're off to the races. So I can test this right here, and I'm going to say create. I'll copy this just so we get the same one here. And you can see the other ones. Summarize my emails, Teams messages, channel messages. This is going throughout the entire process, and we're going to cook this thing up. So after you copy those 3 details in the chat, when you press create, you have your first agent created. And, it's intimidating without knowing these details. But once you get it down, once you start playing with this thing, you understand that, it's a skill that, once you learn it, you have it just like riding a bike. So this will look very familiar to my last one. Place a Monopoly, hit go. And then we'll see that now this agent is working. And just like Traci was saying, you give it some instructions and you give it a purpose, and it fulfills that purpose. So now all of these amazing prompts. So generate a list of action items from the last team meeting, draft a project proposal, create a comprehensive project timeline. These are actually things that we do every day. And that's why I tweaked this agent to be, this will literally, if you work with email, if you work with Teams messages, if you work with calendars, I don't know who doesn't nowadays, this thing will accelerate and make you not hop between applications and give you the details across those. And then around that, give you brainstorming capabilities so you can start to play with the agent. You can start to explore, and you're not stuck at that initial, white screen phase. So let me just copy again just to make sure, and then let me show you the tricks of the trade. So in Copilot now, so now we have an agent. So what's really cool, and this feature was just released, is I can type in magic. and I can click this and I can click go. I don't even have to go to my agent anymore. I can just phone a friend and say, hey, I want this, I want these details here. And wow, they're actually adding a nice little format here to where I can copy the code directly from this and then generate. So let me, take a look at this decision. Most important decisions made last week. So let me take away my phone a friend. So it gave me some chat here. And then I'm actually going to fire back to Copilot. So we're utilizing the Magic Productivity Agent to give us some information on how we can use Copilot. And then we're directly firing it off with the prompt generated by the agent and getting these amazing summaries of what action was taking in meetings from business transcripts, who was included. I mean, this stuff is gold that I usually would have to keep in a OneNote. And then all traceability back to these, so you can see this is a message, this is a calendar invite, this is an email. All of these things are branching through the full Microsoft ecosystem, which is a huge advantage compared to other systems to get all this information in one place. So this is, I say, would be the biggest unlock for Copilot. And this agent really makes that easy to understand these capabilities. And then last but not least, so like I said, you can schedule this. So you can say, hey, I want to repeat this, April 21st, every one day, I'm going to say a week. Run 5 times. Looks like they reduced it. It used to be like 20, but maybe I was running it too much. 5 times. And then so that's basically a month and a half of productivity, where you're writing this report where it would take an hour just from my experience. Now you have this showing up in your Copilot on Monday when you're drinking your coffee. So you can use that hour for more productivity, for learning about the new model, learning about the new technologies, learning about Copilot some more. So I think you can start to see where this is taking some of the work off of your back that's, it's just accelerating it. And then it's allowing you to focus on where your skills are most important and effective off of this admin type task. So hopefully that gives you an idea of, the value here of agents, how they're going to interact with Copilot. And in the next session, just to tease you a little bit, so we're going to be working on, I'm going to show you the art of the possible for multi-agents. So not to get too complicated, but picture a group of agents working on your behalf. So say, the Kody Inc. or Traci Inc., right? These agents are here to serve you. They have really good purposes like the one we just built, and they're sitting there waiting for specific tasks. So when we have those multi-agents built out, and we can even have our Copilot generate them, which is something that I'll show you in the next session as well. So it can learn and adapt as well to make these agents. And this is how we're going to end up in a year to 2 years to 6 months, however, stuff's moving so fast, maybe tomorrow, to where these agents are generated and there's a swarm of agents there to help you, 10, 20, 30, 100, who knows, to help you do these tasks to offload the work so you can focus on what matters for your job. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the capability, how we're going to be working in the future utilizing Copilot, and the gains and productivity that are there to be reaped as long as you know how to use it. And ta-da, now you know how to use it. So if you want to follow along, again, the link is in the deck, and then you can do the same exact step. And then there's also a video that's included as well that shows you step by step if you need to follow along from a video format. So hopefully that helps. And sorry if I took too much time, Traci and Jordan. I will get off my soapbox now and let you guys move on.
No, I love it. It's great. I will say that as a salesperson, there's lots of admin tasks that I hate. In fact, all yes. Admin tasks I hate. So if I can automate any of them, I will do it. I love that you gave different options. Right? So you had just picked, you wanted the business decision, or the decisions that were made, but there were other options that you can do and multiples that you can schedule, which is great. So, it works for more than just one role. For any roles, it just depends on what it is you want to do. So I thought that was great. I do have a very quick story on being nice to your agent. Jeff and I both, and Jordan, all three of us do a webinar on Allie is your Copilot, and it is co-hosted by an AI agent. And I have co-hosted it with Jeff. And I can tell you that Jeff is nicer than I am to our AI agent, and she does not like me as much. So when Jeff asks Allie a question, she's always so polite and thank you and everything. I ask a question and she is very direct. So it is absolutely depends on how polite and how nice and exciting. It is really like having someone sitting right next to you. So I absolutely agree. I love it. So, all right, I will quit and I'm going to hand it over to Jordan Loeffler, and he's going to talk about service agents.
Just
I
realized
cannot hear you,
Jordan. Perfect, thank you. And yes, thank you for the introduction and for the fantastic demo that we just walked through, Kody. What a great agent we were all able to see. Not only was it simple enough to create, as you know, you saw the click through just there, but really clearly demonstrated how Copilot can be used as your personal AI assistant, enhancing your R&D while managing all of the many tasks and communications that you have at any given time. For this next demo, we're going to pivot a little bit and dive into Copilot Studio and create a simple agent that is grounded in content from the web, SharePoint, or just your own internal documentation, wherever that may be stored. We refer to these as knowledge agents, tapping into many knowledge sources, because all we really need to do is point them to a source of knowledge, such as files, websites, databases, SharePoints, and provide some instructions on how to process those prompts from the users to access that data. And it's that simple. They're easy to create and are very powerful tools that can be brought into any organization. So we saw a very impressive hands-on demo from Kody. As we work through this next demo, we're going to be watching some of our pre-recorded demos together. The bright orange box is the ones we're going to be watching through here today, but we do have several in these next couple of slides that are going to be there for you to watch after the fact to get more detailed and to go through some more specifics. But to start, we want to look at just a scenario that we run into pretty frequently when we are working with our prospects and our clients. And when working with a customer service team. So a customer service team is somebody typically that is supporting both the customers, but also the peers, the sales team around them, and needing to go through and answer any questions or support that sales team themselves have coming in. And as I'm sure many of you may be familiar with currently in this call, when you're in a position of being kind of that liaison of the information, the data that you need to access and to find isn't always at your fingertips. And when it is, it's often buried in PDFs and documents and large databases. And just trying to locate that information can be time consuming and difficult, but then needing to also be able to relay that information in a time sensitive way can be quite the task. So when looking at Copilot Studio, we were able to train an agent based on a large number of product spec sheets, just dozens of PDFs and catalogs. And we are going to watch this pre-recorded demo here today together, taking a look at how Copilot Studio can tap into those product spec sheets to answer questions and really help out when it comes to these customer service scenarios.
Copilot Studio allows for seamless integration for your custom agents right into Teams and the broader Microsoft 365 stack that you use daily. I use Microsoft Teams regularly for my communication, collaboration, and productivity needs, keeping me close to my team and the action of our day-to-day. Accessing my custom agents created in Copilot Studio enhances all of these processes. First, I can access it through the App Store, making it easy to install and integrate directly into my team's environment. This allows a user to easily access their agent as a separate app right alongside the rest of their work tools. If you know how to send a chat in Teams, you know how to send a prompt to your custom agent. This makes it easy to not only access your information, but bring Copilot seamlessly into the habits of your day-to-day. It can even be easily accessed through the Teams business chat by simply clicking Get Agents, bringing it right into the sidecar. This doesn't only make it accessible in Teams, But once it's added into your business chat, you can then access it in other applications the business chat is available in, like PowerPoint and Microsoft Word, which allows your knowledge resources to travel to whichever application you are completing your work in. Copilot Studio makes creating custom agents easy, enhancing productivity across all Microsoft 365 applications. Whether accessed through the App Store, Teams channels, or business chat, these agents are always within reach, ensuring your knowledge resources are available wherever you work.
So really great example there of being able to, no matter which application you do your work in, whether it's the Microsoft 365 productivity apps, whether it's directly in Teams, whether it's going through your Copilot chat, your custom agents are able to follow you and help your work wherever it's being completed. And as you can see in the video there, not only is the agent something that can share facts about products and summarize information that's in a product library, but it was able to analyze that information and apply that information to questions that were being asked as well. So it's not only a great summarization tool, but can be really used as a thought partner to analyze and provide additional insight and answers based on the data set that you're providing. So a lot of different applications that can be used in. And when we look now at the putting together of a studio, like the one we just saw of an agent inside of that space, it was mostly trained on just documents or PDFs. So it can be simple, but it can also be quite complex depending on the knowledge sources you want to connect to. As you see up here, as we look at these couple of screenshots, there are many more knowledge sources available outside of just SharePoint or uploading documents and PDFs like we were seeing in some examples here. But there's a lot of other ways to connect, including public websites, additional Dataverse connections, and more. And these connections are something that have been pretty continually getting added and growing, with new connectors constantly getting brought into preview. So if you are in this space and you're not seeing a connector you're hoping to see, I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future we see that brought in, because Microsoft has put a lot of intentional effort into making as many connections as possible to make this as seamless with all of the different places that your data may be living. And as we look through these couple different screenshots up here, we see some of those other connectors in the first one. In image number 2, you can see that for a different Copilot agent we set up in Studio, we were able to connect to a table in the Dataverse called Project. And using that project connection, we can see in image number 3 that we were able to ask it a question about the number of projects going on for a specific client and some of the status around that, and we were able to see the summary statistics that are shown there. So overall, whether you are making simple or complex connections, those are available to you inside of Copilot Studio, and that agent that you're creating custom for your work enhancements can live wherever you do your work on a daily basis, making it not only easy to set up, but also easy to work into your day-to-day routines and instantly start to enhance all of your daily processes. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over to Traci.
Fantastic. Today we talked about simple to create agents that anyone can create, really just focusing on the first of these 6 segments of capabilities that agents have. So again, in the next part of our series, in a couple of weeks, we're going to dive in a little deeper about that, creating more advanced agents like Kody had mentioned. He's going to give us a vision of what's right around the corner, including those agents that create agents, which I'm super excited about. As you're thinking of the possibilities, let me take you back just a step. So we want to make sure that we're planning this and moving appropriately. So this is a very important slide. Copilot and AI is the latest in a stream of digital transformations that include CRM, modern internets, citizen development, and business intelligence. If you're like most companies, you're going to follow very standard practice in implementing a project like this. You've got a plan, you implement the plan, you include training and support. This is very typical moving forward. Unfortunately, that same process has about a 70% of companies that follow will end up with a failed project. And a recent example that we have an organization that wanted to implement Copilot. They had started with licensing and a plan, and they deployed it. They even offered very structured training, links to some high quality training content. But then after about 6 months, they saw less than 20% adoption that they knew could really be a game changer within the business. Just like human beings, success is what you see. What you can see is only the tip of the iceberg. So very important part is what you can't see. And what we found in many years of experience is that virtually every success is supported by two critical but hidden factors. A roadmap, which is much more than that specific project plan. It is a detailed vision from leadership plus the project plan or initial project plan. And then moving into a center of excellence, which is more than just training support. It ensures the successful change management, which is through continuous monitoring, improvement, engagement, support, training, and then those micro projects so that your project is nurtured and doesn't end up maintained, unmaintained, messy, and neglected. So I invite you to look internally about how you can create an organization that is considering these practices of the proven leaders in digital transformation. We started by talking about how AI will expand our ability to be people-centric. From what I'm experiencing, I've truly come to believe that we are going to unleash ourselves and our teams to solve problems from small to large that we can't even imagine solving today. Together, we are building that foundation. And it's truly a pleasure and an honor to be able to chat with each of you today as you are part of building a new foundation that will set the course for the next 100 years. We've talked a lot about AI and agents because everyone is different in their AI journey. We do have a couple of one-pagers with programs to get you started. I want to make sure that you understand the first one is a free agent vision and planning workshop. This will help you see what's out there and the potential within your organization. Or if after watching Kody and Jordan's demonstrations, you're already thinking about the great agents and processes you'd like to automate, we do have a tried and true proof of value program. So let's get started, create those agents and get them testing and productive within your organization.
Struggling to leverage Microsoft Enterprise solutions? At C5 Insight, we understand the intersection between technology, business, and people. Contact us to learn more.
I'm going to invite Jordan and Kody back to talk about some questions and get into the Ask Me Anything. I'm going to start with some questions that we had at the beginning. First one from Rebecca. How complete and accurate do you find the summary agent? So when asked about it through chat to give me summaries like this, I've been a little disappointed.
Yes, yeah. So that's a good point. And it's actually where I've been brought into to teaching people about this. So I'm glad you brought that up. Let me share my screen here. Mm-hmm. So adjustments. So adjustments are very important here. So it's a really smart 3-year-old. If you do like the assumptions that you're expecting this to understand versus what it does understand, that's actually the work that goes into this. So what I mean by that and how to deal with this is if I go into this agent and for whatever reason, it's not pulling results or it's hallucinating, first off, like give it a thumbs down on the chat, right? And then also, you can say, so I can say, I'm going to do this. This is like going meta, right? I'm going to ask the agent how we should tweak the instructions for the agent, right? So I'm going to say, how could I format this better for you to understand more optimally? And I'm being wordy, but and it's too long, but I'll give you just an idea of, I'll take some of these examples out. Okay, so I'm going to say, I'm giving it its instructions. And the funny thing is, this looks kind of strange, these instructions. These are actually AI generated. So I've done like no work besides just guiding it. And that's what's going to be really, technology going forward. I'm going to say output full instructions that I can copy and paste to you to give this information every time, right? So there is back and forth and collaboration. It's not perfect. So if you are seeing, different results here, then, it's saying, hey, this formatting works better for me. So for example, markdown formatting and, these lines, it might not seem anything crazy for us, but this really gives an idea of what the AI needs to understand what you're asking it to give that the best instructions possible. So that's what I would say first is really fine tuning it. And then congratulations, like you have better instructions, given by the AI. And, this would just need to be, back and forth adjustments using this test scenario, and then you would update it from here. And then if you catch it in the wild, giving bad results for whatever reason. So let's say, usually, so if there is no information that it gives, sometimes there's a chance of hallucination. So what I mean by that is if it's not accessing the graph data for whatever reason from, a vague query or something like that, it'll try its best and it might miss something. So what I would say is make sure that you, in the prompt, I say, make sure you cite your sources. So picture back in college, in high school, it's not only getting the right answer, it's showing your work. And that applies here as well. So if you make the AI show its work, it grounds it in the data and it makes it think about what it's sharing instead of just blabbering on with stuff that's not real. If you make it get the data and the sources, then it goes through that entire process and it makes sure that it gives you grounded data. So it's a forcing function to allow that. So you're going to see there's different skills like this. I would say it's more like working with a person than working with, an onboarding person that's joining your company. That's how I tend to work with these AIs and adjust. It's okay, I'm failing to reach you for my instructions. Tell me how you need me to work with you to be successful. That's really the back and forth with these AIs, and that's never going to go away until they're, omnipresent and they know everything. That will be the way to adjust these. And, it will be everyone working with them. If you're working with a colleague, it's, hey, I need this adjustment in how you, send updates through email versus, giving me a call, and the person hears that and then they adjust. The same pattern works with Copilot as well. And I would say that's the biggest tweak to making sure they're accurate because they do make mistakes. That's just something that we'll have to, work with just like people. And then when you grow with them, then they will start to adjust. And based on your testing and working through that, based on those adjustments, you should start to see better results. And if you're not, there's always the thumbs down. And just to give you an idea going forward, what I'm really advocating for is if there's that point of failure, that should be a teaching lesson for the AI to where we don't even have to go into the instructions and do what I just showed you. It should be where you say, hey, you're giving me wrong data. Don't do this again. And then the AI, the Copilot says, okay, like I learned this lesson from this chat where I failed. And I learned that this was the right way. So now going forward, I'm going to do the right way, right? That's a pattern that I'm advocating for internally for the product in general for Copilot. And I'm seeing promising results of this solving the problem at the source instead of, your frustration, which is valid of, okay, it's giving me bunk data. Like I'm gone. I'm doing my own stuff that I know how to do. That is what we're looking to do to solve it long term. But for now, these processes and understanding and going through these exercises, this is going to make you an expert in AI. And you're going to be teaching people along the way. It's not that difficult once you get going. If you can write English, if you can, copy and paste, like I said, you can help people out and the gains are 10x. Over the weekend, just to give you an idea, I wouldn't be able to pass a coding interview at Microsoft, but with the AI, I coded because I'm a, non-technical in my role. I coded a game console or the AI, I told it to code a game console And then I said, make cartridges, virtual cartridges that you can load into this and you can play. So, I didn't want to, show this, but retro player. So this this was fully AI generated, a Game Boy, because I like Game Boys, and you can load in games and there's a library, there's an app store. This was completely generated by AI. So this is just from like a technical point of view, but this should show the productivity gains of what you can do here. And this is completely workable. It just shows the capabilities, and this thing gets better every day. So, maybe that's too much information for you, but I just want to show you when you utilize this, like what the productivity gains are. It's blowing my mind every day. Like it blows my mind. I'll like this thing created a council and Jordan and Traci, they could use an agent to make their own games using English. Like I'll get off the topic, but the excitement and the potential here, if you utilize these simple skills, it's insane. And it'll allow you to do things like what Traci said that you couldn't do before. I've made YouTube channels with AI generated videos, AI generated stories, AI generated lo-fi music that I would never even thought of before. So even from the creation point of view, from the creativity point of view, it unlocks something that gives you superpowers. So long story short, work with the AI, work with it like a person, onboarding co-worker. And you'll grow with it, you'll learn with it, and you'll figure it out along the way. And yeah, there are hallucinations still, but we are looking to solve that problem in any way we can. So we hear you loud and clear, but these patterns will help you as much as possible.
Fantastic. I love it. And it's a lot of great information, a lot of really cool things that you saw or that you had shown. So I love it. And I think that's great. But you're right. It just depends. And when in doubt, ask Copilot. So that's fantastic. Jordan, I'm actually going to ask you, we've gotten a lot of licensing questions. If you can, kind of really high level, give an overview of, the type of licensing you need with the different things we've shown today, as well as we actually got a question on using licensing with, or agents with CRM, finance operations, those D365.
Absolutely. So, the question of the year maybe is Copilot licensing and what it means and what the different ones are. To start with, what we looked at today, we saw agents both in our Copilot chat as well as in Copilot Studio. So there are two different ways to go about those typically. So what I showed in Copilot Studio is a full separate Copilot license to have the full studio, which opens up to much more broad and complex connections and a lot of those third-party connectors that we briefly saw. But there are a lot of agent capabilities that have been brought directly into Microsoft 365 Copilot. The screen that Kody was on walking through in that Teams chat, that's all directly inside of your Copilot chat that depending on the type of M365 licensing you have can be either included or some metered ways to go about it if you don't even have the full Copilot licensing. So Microsoft's been putting a lot of intentional effort specifically in the agent and chat space to make that as readily available. So the M365 licensing, which Kody is pulling up here, has that thankfully included as part of the space for the most part. And then for the more complex stuff that we were touching on a little bit, you would need the full studio licensing for. And then I'll briefly touch on the sales piece. I'm not sure if Kody has anything else licensing-wise you want to bring up, but I know we did get the other question coming in around some of the CRM capabilities and records. So with the Microsoft 365 Copilot that we were talking about and using today, there are some CRM capabilities that you can utilize that license for some summarization, some R&D tasks. But there is a Copilot for Sales license, which further extends Copilot into your Dynamics or otherwise CRM systems and provides some additional insight, forecasting, more advanced AI assistance there. So I think that there was a lot said there, but pretty much there's ways to start all of these within just M365 Copilot. And then as you want to get more advanced, if you need to get more complex in your use case, there's the individual copilots like Studio and like For Sales that can bring you to those spaces. Yeah, Kody, I
Perfect.
wasn't sure if you had anything to add.
Yeah, and so Copilot for Sales, exactly what you're saying, Jordan. The role-based copilots, it's more specialized and tailored towards like a sales role. So, you're getting the BANT analysis, the sales targeted, prompts from meeting summarizations. So you're getting that fine-tuning like what I showed you, but just in that role base out of the box, right? And what's cool about Copilot for Sales is it can connect to Salesforce in Dynamics 365. So what we're seeing with a lot of Salesforce replacement customers, they can enable Copilot for Sales in like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, based on, how fast they get moving and where they are in their AI journey. But, that could be a holdover for their Salesforce of, hey, we connected to Salesforce, we get authenticated, we use this nice AI generated stuff. And then when they flip over to Dynamics, they literally just authenticate to their new system. And it's the same experience of Copilot for Sales that they knew. So there's cool aspects of that you would potentially want to check out with Copilot for Sales and those role-based copilots.
Perfect. Yes. So, and like I said, you can get a lot out of the basic Microsoft 365 Copilot, but at the end of the day, to do a lot of what they were doing today and to get started with building your agents is all you need is one Copilot Studio license. You don't need Microsoft 365 Copilot. You don't need all these. You just need at least one, and you can do pay as you go. So you can get started today. Jordan actually does training on being able to talk to your Copilot in our proof of value, and which Copilot needs, which type of questions and everything. So we have only a few minutes left. I do want to make sure that, we give you guys all a breather and able to move forward. So I wanted to talk to you about these quick events that we have coming up. So we have our 365 Leadership Summit in Denver this September for business leaders and digital transformation influencers. Speakers from this will be Microsoft, C5 Insight, Cloud Wars, and more. And we'll really be targeting and sharing vision and strategies for leading successful Copilot and digital transformation. So you can visit c5in.co/leader with the code LEAD2025 to get an early bird discount. And then right after that is the Community Summit, Dynamics Community Summit in Orlando. This event is focused on Dynamics, AI, and Power Platform user training. So take a look at these. We had more questions come in, so we will absolutely follow up with each of you that had additional questions, but feel free to reach out directly. And I am so happy to be able to take the time with you today. Don't forget to sign up for our next webinar, part 2 in this series that's coming up the end of April. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.